When I look at this situation, it's a two-way street. This situation is very twofold. I mean, Carmelo Anthony, at one part, he's being blackballed by the NBA. But it's another reason that Carmelo was a detriment to his career, as I've always said, as I explain more on your channel and mine on the Lewis Basketball.
Season in New York has been a brilliant one offensively for Carmelo Anthony as he led the NBA in scoring. Melo with the pull-up, got it.
He is just such a good one-on-one player.
Boy, that's what he does so well, able to drive with such force, but then pull up and shoot just a soft jumper.
Oh, quick spin move from Anthony, counted and one. Ready play from Carmelo Anthony. Oh, good second move and the first. Talk about duping the defender. Melo from another burrow. Anthony to the basket. Oh, beautiful adjustment from Carmelo Anthony.
We had a wired on him. He was wired from birth to school. This guy's a
Flow pesado a lo Floyd Mayweather. Flow pesado a lo Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather.
Welcome back to the Lewis Basketball Network. It is your boy Lewis, and I am once again back with another banger with yet another video. You already know, guys, the deal, man. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure to share this video. Make sure you hit that notification bell. Once again, I have to talk about this. So Stephen A. Smith, Stephen A. Simp, Stephen A. Naismith, according to him, Stephen A. Snitch. I love the brother in terms of how entertaining he is, but like I said, this dude is known to flip-flop when he tries to fit his own narrative. So, ladies and gentlemen, Stephen A. Says that Carmelo Anthony, in his opinion, does not deserve a farewell tour. What do I think about that? Do I think that Carmelo Anthony deserves a farewell tour? Well, it depends on how you look at it, because in one part, Carmelo is being blackballed. He is being blacklisted by the NBA. And I told you that the NBA is out on the banana boat crew. If you look at Dwayne Wade, he aged gracefully and he retired into the sunset. LeBron James is still playing right now, but I said before, at least with LeBron, he's been proven that he's been able to win. Now, I'm not talking about if he's had help, because that's pretty much obvious, but I'm basically saying that he's been able to win. When you look at Chris Paul and Carmelo, I said it before and I'll say it again. Chauncey Billups even said this when he talked about Carmelo. There were times when Melo cared more about his numbers than he cared about winning, okay? When you look at 2009 and probably 2013, in my opinion, those were probably the two best overall seasons that Melo had in terms of a two-way player, because when Chauncey Billups came in, that was probably the most focused I've seen Melo play both ends of the ball. And Melo, we already know historically, has never been really known as a, great defender, because he has slow feet. He's not athletic. He tends to get very lazy on defense, and at times he doesn't really try. Now, Melo's one of the great offensive talents of this generation. He's in that part of that historic draft class. I think what kind of hurt Carmelo, in my opinion, we got to look at a guy like Joe Dumars. And for those Detroit fans, those Piston fans, you guys know who Joe D was, man, especially with Isaiah Thomas. If you guys remember, he had an opportunity to draft Carmelo with the number 2 pick, but instead he chose Darko Milicic. And if you look at the Detroit Pistons, they were actually missing a 20-point score. Now remember, in 2005, we all can point to Rasheed Wallace, making the boneheaded play, and allowing Robert Horry to get that open 3. But what I'm telling you is, in terms of the Pistons being a dynasty, imagine having Carmelo from early, having the veterans around him to be able to mold him like you have with Rib and Chauncey. He would have had Chauncey at the start of his career instead of getting him in year 6? I mean, which is still pretty early, but what I'm saying is Chauncey was in his prime in Detroit as compared to in 2009 when Chauncey Billups, at this point he made this was his 7th straight conference finals appearance, and at that point he was a veteran. I mean, which is great, but again, he was not prime Chauncey Billups. Productive, yes, but not prime Chauncey Billups like he was in Detroit. And they had an opportunity. Carmelo had an opportunity to be with Rip Hamilton, with Rasheed Wallace, who they ended up trading for mid-season. Tayshaun Prince, who was just in his second year, and then you have Defensive Player of the Year Ben Wallace, who was in his prime, who made an All-Star team. But we all know Ben Wallace is not an offensive player. He's kind of technically the Dikembe Mutombo of that time, in terms of he was making All-Star teams being a defender, not as an offensive player. But Carmelo would have been able to win a championship. And imagine what the media would have been talking about with Melo had he had the chance to win a championship in his first year. Because if you remember, in my opinion, he should have been co-rookie of the year at the very least with LeBron James, at the very least. Like, Melo was able to lead the team into the postseason with that very good team with Defensive Player of the Year Marcus Camby. You had Nene Hilario. You had I think it was Vashawn Leonard. You had John Barry. It was a good Nuggets team. It was good, not great, but good. With Coach Defis Bezdilic, so you had that, and let's see. So when you have, all that, and he was able to do that, it was kind of like, the sky's the limit for Melo. But one thing that's always followed Melo over the years has been his inability to play defense. He's capable when he puts his mind to it. But like I said before, ladies and gentlemen, he has disadvantages with Melo when it came to defense. What he showed you was he was a great offensive player, one of the greatest on that end of the floor. And in order for you to be one of the greatest, if you were to be labeled a two-way player, man, if you was to be like the pantheon of the best players in the game, definitely Carmelo was one of the best players in the game. There's no question about it. The thing with Melo is, when you look at his career, when you look at his style of play, he's a guy who benefits playing with a point guard. He's also a guy who, and like I said, point guards and, like I said, leaders. Like Carmelo, that's what he lacked. I feel like if he had leadership from the beginning of his career, I think Carmelo would have been a much, much better player. No one denies his ability to score the basketball. His ability to score is second to none. I mean, the man led the league in scoring in 2013 with the Knicks, my New York Knicks. And I said it before and I'll say it again. When I looked at Melo at first, I said to myself, man, this guy is going to probably lead you to a championship as the best player on the team. And I said he'll eventually grow as a leader. I mean, all the great ones, mostly all the great ones that have won have been able to do that. But then I realized, as his career's gone by, and then if you look at now his two stints with the Rockets and with the Thunder, and even in his last couple of years with the Knicks, even though the Knicks organization has been bad, like for the last 20 years, I realized that Melo, as good as he is, he was never going to be your best player on a championship team. Excuse me, I'm sorry, I'm mumbling and stuttering my words. I realized that Melo was never going to be the best player on a championship team. It took me a while to realize that. And the thing is also, you have to understand this, folks. Melo had opportunities to win a championship elsewhere. Like when he was still in his prime, when he was still productive. I mean, he had a chance to go to the Chicago Bulls on 2 different occasions. Can you remember Melo forced his way out of Denver? But part of it was because of his wife was in his ear, because she wanted to be in New York and she wanted to start her little career, in the television business and in acting. So that's where it came from with her. And then when we look at it, folks, at least with the Knicks, he was able to help guide them to 3 straight playoff appearances. And we all know what happened in the lockout with Linsanity. Oh, Linsanity. With all due respect to Jeremy Lin, I feel like there was a rift because Linsanity took over New York and Melo got bad rap for that. And as a matter of fact, there was a report saying that Melo was like kind of jealous of Jeremy Lin because of the attention he was getting, and the attention was not on him. And then Linsanity, because it took over and fans fell in love with Jeremy Lin quickly because the Knicks were winning with a point guard. The issue I had with Jeremy Lin was that dude was a turnover machine. He kept turning the ball over a lot. Yes, he helped the Knicks win. The ball was moving, and that's where Carmelo got such a bad rap. The fact that the ball sticks with Carmelo. He's not a guy that I will say that Carmelo can be a willing passer, but like I said, it honestly depends on what type of team is built around Carmelo, and like I said, what type of player is he going to show you? Is he going to show you that he can be a team player and be in a system, or you have to play the Carmelo system, which is ISO, post ups, mid range. That's what Carmelo is, and the ball stops when he plays that way. And like I said, that Carmelo Anthony, in my opinion, is Allen Iverson 2.0. He's the modern day Allen Iverson. Why do I say that? With Carmelo, in his mind, he's saying to himself, I've made multiple All-Star appearances. I led the league in scoring. I won a scoring title. I've been the best player on my teams, at least from an offensive standpoint. Why in the hell am I going to take a bench role when I feel like in my heart I'm still as good as better than 70% of the NBA players in this league today, and I'm still on the level of a LeBron James, of a Giannis Antetokounmpo, of a Kawhi Leonard, of a Kevin Durant, of a Steph Curry. But listen to those names I just mentioned. All of those guys that I mentioned are very proficient in scoring. They're very they're very proficient with their scoring. When I look at Carmelo, he's prolific, which is basically telling you he gets his shots on volume shots. Carmelo is a volume scorer. And the crazy part about Carmelo, he has a beautiful form when he shoots the basketball. The problem with Carmelo is with volume scores, you have poor shot selection. And it tends to happen a lot, even with the best of them. And that's the thing. And what's so crazy about 2013 is, remember when people were glossing about LeBron and the Miami Heat winning 27 straight games? They won 66 games in the regular season. Remember when they were talking about how LeBron had this amazing season when he had 26.8 points, about 8 rebounds, and about 6 or 7 assists, and he shot 56% from the field and 40 from 3, even though he only shot 69 from the line? I told y'all Kevin Durant had 28, 8, and 5 on 50, 40, 90. Leading the Thunder to 60 wins in the Western Conference. You know what's the worst part about it? Kevin Durant had MVP numbers and didn't get a single first place vote. That vote went to Carmelo Anthony. And the reason they tried to do that is because